Greetings guys and welcome back to the Home Slice. Today I have another fun, just for fun, survival sharpening episode lined up for you guys. So in the last episode we went through some materials that I found out in the woods that you might be able in a survival situation to use as a strop. In the episode before that we went through some stones, rocks that you could use as a coarse or like medium stone, and I tested all of them to find out which ones actually produce the best edge using my Victorinox knives so that I could test multiple things at once. And what ended up being the results is that this Black River rock is a decently good coarse stone. Upon playing with things more, I found that this pumice stone, if you work up a bit of a slurry, can be a decent medium stone. This tan stone was by far the best option for fine sharpening, getting down just on this stone alone to a best score of around 350. And then this chunk of bark that I picked up, which I flattened on the stones, I then stropped with my belt because I always wear my belt out in the woods. If I was in a survival situation, I would have my leather belt. And I believe that dropped it down to 262 on the best. So these are all the winners of the best stones for survival sharpening that I have found, like out on hikes, not like in a parking lot, like at a lake, at a waterfall. Here's a video of where I got one of them. These are the winners. So these have got the Victorinox knives the sharpest so far. So now that we've worked out this progression of stones, we're gonna go coarse, medium, fine, strop on these three knives. Now why? Well, legend states that the legendary 1095 steel is what you would want to have with you if you were in a survival situation out in the woods. Now, I made a video, and I'll put the link up here. I'll also have a link at the end, where I tested out 1095 in this case, against S30V and H1, and indeed, it did sharpen up better than the other two. Even so, I had some 1095 proponents complain that there were too many variables, the thickness behind the edge and this and that. So what I've done is I've got this Opinel blade in carbon steel. Now this is not exactly 1095, it's XC90, which I'll put up on the screen, which you could consider a variant of 1095. It's probably more like a variant of 1084, or if there was a 1090. It's got a little bit of added silicone for machinability, but basically having a little tiny smidge less carbon and a little bit more silicone should only add to the sharpenability of this guy. So this is like our carbon steel representative. I have put all the advantages in the favor of carbon steel. So carbon steel ought to perform the best, but we're gonna test it against some different steels who are at a disadvantage because they're higher thickness behind the edge and more wear resistant. And we're gonna just see a few variations and iterations. In this case, we are going to be testing it against 8Cr13MoV in the SOG Aegis frame lock. The SOG Aegis is an awesome design. The frame lock is the cheap version. It's 8Cr13MoV. It's like an $18 knife, but it's got a wicked steep flat grind, and it's a cool little knife. It has been rusting, the handle and the blade, just sitting in my closet, which is unfortunate, but that's 8Cr13MoV. Speaking of things that rust, we've also got a D2 blade. This is the cheapest D2 blade I could find on Amazon. It's by a company I can't pronounce the name of, Opinel. And I know this is cheap D2 and not indicative of the performance of good D2, but I bought this for testing because I actually want to test what is the commonly available budget D2 like, and is there good ways to sharpen it? So we're gonna see if you were out in the woods and you had a blade made out of XC90 or 1095, it'll be a close analog, versus if you had a blade, a big fixed blade probably of any of these would be better than a folding knife, of course, but a blade of 8Cr13MoV or a blade of D2 tool steel, which one would sharpen the easiest if you were lost here and you have these stones that I have? Now, I haven't dressed these stones with anything but each other. I rubbed them against each other to flatten them out. And anyway, I'm gonna dull things on this 320 grit diamond plate, and then we'll do some best tests to confirm that they're all over 500 and all indeed dull, and none of them have a serious advantage of sharpness to begin with. Then we're gonna sharpen them all with these stones, and then I'll best test at the end and have a little commentary. I hope you enjoy. I should mention that all three of these blades I have just reprofiled, so they're all 17 degrees per side. And so that's what we're starting out with. Let's get rid of those edges. All right, goodbye, nice diamond stone. Well, decent diamond stone. Hello, river rocks, but let's see how our sharpness is doing first, beforehand. Is that visible? I think that's visible. Okay, 843, well up over 500 best. $890 on the D2, which is similar. Oh, SOG's only 576. So we might need to get that diamond plate back out to level the playing field here. Okay, 8Cr13 is at 900 now. All right, I think I'm gonna do I'll probably raise a burr on the first stone and then do like 10 passes per stone per side on the rest of them. So I'm not gonna use any guiding systems, and I'm not gonna set anything on the table because although I'm doing this at home, I want it to be indicative of what you could do in just like a seated position out when you're surviving. And my family is back, so I'm going to need to move this video to a different location. Okay. Well, that was a bit of a delay, but I'm sorry about that. I really want to, or would like to, shoot videos where you can see that everything is sort of linear and that you can follow and verify that the results are the results. I also just am not always going to be able to do it. I'm just at a phase of life that this is like the part-time of my part-time thing, you know? So anyway, if the continuity of seeing it go from beginning to end is important to you, that's totally understandable for accountability and all of that stuff. If you have been following this and you're really serious about which steel is best for using in a survival scenario, then probably you need to wait till my next video. Hopefully I'll be able to shoot it straight through. But anyway, for those of you who are along for the fun of it and know the heart and intention of this channel is just to have fun and try things, we will finish this test. I was on the D2, I've sharpened these two, they're feeling pretty good. But let's go back to the coarse stone for the D2 and see what we can do. Let me get another towel. And then we'll best test them. And while it will not be scientific and authoritative and airtight, it will be fun to see whether this nearly 1095 analog or D2 tool steel or 8Cr13, the bemoaned and infamous 8Cr13MoV actually took a keener edge according to Bess, which is not the only edge measurement, but it's a fairly good one. All right, let's do it. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, the moment of truth. For fairness, I probably will take two best readings, one from the original location and one in the slicing belly, and then average them out to figure out which one is better. Let me find my paper here. All right, it's showtime. XC90 first. Oh, 248. That's good. .306. Not bad at all. Wow. That's pretty darn good. Okay, over to D2. .286, come on D2. Come on, that's good. Wow, totally just farted. That D2 just hit 173 on a river rock. What? Oh my goodness gracious. I'm pretty sure that just beat the XC90. Oh my goodness. Let's check out 8Cr13MoV. What is going on? Ooh, 708 on the 8Cr13MoV. It's not so good. That is not so good at all. Oof, 677. Okay, let me average these up real quick and I'll be right back. The results are in, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. The XC90 took a brilliant edge considering that it was sharpened on only river rocks, averaging between its 2 points at 277 bests, which is not bad at all. No incredibly significant chips or points where the blade finds up. Knowing how that reading usually performs, I don't think it'll shave. And indeed, it will not shave. The D2 took the survival world by storm here by sharpening and averaging down to 229.5. Guys, it's better. The edge on this cheap D2 knife is better. That's so crazy. So apparently, if you're out surviving in a survival situation, D2 will be sharpenable. Oh my gosh. It's shaving a little bit at the tip. Not in, the tip is a little bit sharper. Some hairs there. Anyway, 229.5. Man, we got a best reading out at the tip of 173 on this thing. Tip will push cut. That is crazy. Wow. The 8Cr13MoV, which I had thought might sharpen pretty well, sort of lived up to its reputation, scoring an average of 692.5. I did everything the same. Oh, this is... no, this is a terrible edge. It's really bad. It wants to... Oh, man. Okay, so don't take out 8Cr13MoV by SOG on your next trip where you get lost in the woods and have to survive. Okay, wow. I am just flabbergasted by that. As I've said, this isn't like super ultra definitive, and I'm not making any claims actually. I mean, I'm mostly joking around. These numbers, what can we say? We can say these numbers are much better. These stones that I've narrowed it down to are much better at putting an edge on a knife than the ones that I was using in the original video, because these numbers are much better. Apparently, steel does have some bearing on how a knife sharpens in less than ideal circumstances with less than ideal stones when you're working with things that are not, you know, intended actually for sharpening. I think I'll do some more of these. I want to do some powder steels. I want to do some tool steels. I want to do some high carbide steels and just compare each one to each other and see how they do. I'll probably take this Opinel with the XC90 in it and use it as kind of a control where I just sharpen it each time to benchmark it against the other blades in it. But for this test, the $18 D2 knife won by a long shot in a surprise underdog victory. Wow. I don't even know what to say. This is really dumbfounding because D2 has huge carbides. Like, D2 should be the worst survival sharpening steel. So, I'm just shocked. If you have thoughts about this, drop me your thoughts in the comments, please. I just want to hear. I'm not out to prove anything. If you are in a survival situation, 1095 would work. This would work. A 277 gram best edge is awesome. If you're in a survival situation, this 8Cr13MoV, as I sharpened it this time, would not do super well. So it'll be interesting to see how this sharpens on real stones and what kind of numbers we get from it in later testing. I actually love the knife. I think it's a real cool design and a real practical package that SOG puts out for very cheap. But anyway. Okay, sun's going down because I put my girls to bed before finishing this video, but I'm curious now, like this whole thing is making me curious about like what's the actual felt difference between these edges. So I got a cardboard, like a banana box here that needs to be broken down, and so I'm gonna try each of the different ones, each of the different edges, and I'll see how much you can tell the difference. Now geometry will be better on this one than the others, but there's not much I can do about that. That is a good edge. Man. Smooth. The XC90 is very smooth. I'm impressed. D2. Oh wow. That's better. Oh my gosh. That is actually a good edge. That's actually a good edge. What the heck? Oh my goodness. Alright, 8Cr13. It's working. It takes a little more pressure. It's not a bad edge, actually. I'm surprised. Oh, it does take more pressure to... Oh, and it is tearing there. But if you gave it some back and forth, yeah, you could... Okay, but that's workable. Like, that's doable. Okay, so you could argue, like the apple slice was not any really different feeling with any of the different knives. The cardboard was a little bit harder with the SOG, and the feather sticking was easiest with the sharpest knife. So you could, you could make a case that that's like the most survival-y task, and sharpness does seem to matter for that. At the same time, I'm really bad at feather sticking, and so I messed it up a bunch anyway, but it was easier to go back and make progress, and the edge would just slide through a bit more on the D2 because it's just sharper. But anyway, I think you could easily make the case that in a survival situation, geometry is going to be just as important or more important than the actual sharpness for most of your tasks, because this thing was easy just because it's so thin. But I do think you could also make a case that in this test, the D2 won fair and square, and in three little practical tests, it did perform better than the others if you added all three together. So, interesting. If you want to see the original video where I actually go out to a river and attempt to do this with some knives, that's right here. It's really an adventure. Otherwise, I hope you have a good day, and I'll say peace out from the home slice. Thanks for watching.